The ballroom glittered with champagne and ambition, but Evelyn Cross only had eyes for one thing: the empty chair beside her daughter. Lily sat at the corner table, 7 years old and utterly alone, her small hands folded in her lap while the world buzzed around her in a language she couldn't hear. Then a stranger crossed the room, dropped to one knee and signed something that made Lily's face explode with light. Evelyn's chest tightened. She'd spent millions building an empire, but watching her daughter laugh with a man she'd never met, she realized the brutal truth. She'd failed at the one thing that actually mattered. If you're watching from anywhere in the world, drop your city in the comments below. I want to see how far this story travels, and if it hits you where it hurts, smash that like button. You're going to want to see how this ends. The Cascade Hotel didn't do subtlety. Crystal chandeliers the size of compact cars, marble floors polished to a mirror shine, waiters gliding through crowds with trays of hors d'oeuvres that cost more per bite than most people spent on lunch. Evelyn Cross stood near the bar, champagne flute in hand, smiling at a venture capitalist whose name she'd forget by morning. She wore confidence like armor, a black dress that cost 4 figures, heels that added 3 inches to her already imposing height, diamond earrings that caught the light every time she tilted her head. "The quarterly projections are conservative," she was saying, her voice smooth and controlled. "We're positioned to dominate the AI infrastructure market within 18 months. The venture capitalist, a silver-haired man named Richard something or other, nodded appreciatively. "I have to say, Evelyn, what you've built with Crosstech is remarkable, especially for someone so young." She was 34. Not that young. But she smiled anyway because that's what you did at these things. "Thank you, Richard. I'd love to continue this conversation over lunch next week. My assistant will reach out." "I look forward to it." He moved on, and Evelyn allowed herself exactly 3 seconds to drop the smile before the next person approached. Being the only woman founder in a room full of tech titans meant you never got to relax. Every conversation was a test. Every interaction was being evaluated. Show weakness, and they'd circle like sharks. She scanned the ballroom, taking mental inventory. Investors she needed to impress. Competitors she needed to intimidate. Journalists who might write something useful. And then, in the corner by the dessert table, a small figure in a blue dress that Evelyn had picked out herself 3 days ago. Lily. Her daughter sat alone at a table set for 8, the other 7 chairs conspicuously empty. The event planner had suggested seating Lily with other children, but there were no other children. This was a business gala, not a family picnic. Lily's nanny, Mrs. Chen, had called in sick at the last minute, and Evelyn's assistant had been too swamped to find a replacement. So Lily was here because leaving her home alone wasn't an option, and bringing her meant Evelyn could at least keep an eye on her. Except she wasn't keeping an eye on her. She was working the room. Evelyn felt a pang of something, guilt maybe, but pushed it down. Lily was fine. She had her tablet. She knew to stay seated. They talked about it in the car. Or rather, Evelyn had talked and Lily had nodded, her dark eyes watching her mother's lips form words she couldn't hear. "Ms. Cross?" Evelyn turned to find a tech reporter from Forbes hovering at her elbow. She painted the smile back on. "Yes?" "I was hoping to get a quote about the recent merger talks with Quantum Systems. Can you confirm or deny?" "I'm afraid I can't comment on rumors," Evelyn said smoothly. "But I will say that Crosstech is always exploring strategic partnerships that align with our vision." "So you're not denying it?" "I'm not confirming it either." She winked, which made him laugh, and then she excused herself because she'd spotted Marcus Webb, the CEO of a cybersecurity firm she'd been courting for months. The next hour passed in a blur of handshakes and power plays. Evelyn was good at this: the networking, the positioning, the careful dance of corporate politics. She'd built Crosstech from nothing, turning a garage startup into a company worth $500 million. She'd done it by being smarter, faster, and more ruthless than everyone else. No one handed you anything in this industry. You took it. By 9:30, her feet hurt and her face ached from smiling. She grabbed another champagne flute from a passing waiter and allowed herself a moment to breathe. The crowd had thinned slightly. Some people had moved to the outdoor terrace. Others clustered around the dessert table, gorging on miniature cheesecakes and chocolate truffles. And Lily. Evelyn's breath caught. Lily wasn't alone anymore. A man knelt beside her daughter's chair, his back to Evelyn. He wore a gray suit, slightly rumpled, like he'd been wearing it all day. His hands moved in quick, fluid gestures, and Lily was glowing. Her daughter's face had transformed. The blank, patient expression she always wore at events like this had been replaced by something radiant. She was signing back, her small hands flying, her eyes bright with excitement. She laughed, a sound Evelyn rarely heard, and the man laughed too, his shoulders shaking. Evelyn's chest tightened. She didn't recognize the feeling at first. It took her a moment to identify it as jealousy, sharp and petty and completely irrational. She was jealous of a stranger who could make her daughter smile like that. Jealous that in the space of 5 minutes, he'd done something she hadn't managed in 7 years. She crossed the ballroom in long strides, her heels clicking against the marble. "Excuse me," she said, her voice coming out sharper than intended. "Can I help you?" The man looked up, and Evelyn got her first good look at him. Mid-30s, maybe. Dark hair starting to gray at the temples. Brown eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. He had the kind of face that didn't photograph well but looked better in person. Lived in, honest. "Sorry," he said, standing. He was tall, maybe 6'1", broad-shouldered, but not bulky. "I didn't mean to intrude. I just saw Lily sitting here by herself and thought she might like some company." "You know sign language?" It wasn't a question. "I do. And you are?" "Ethan Cole." He extended a hand. "I work for Neuralink. Software engineer." Evelyn shook his hand briefly. Neuralink was a competitor, though not a major one, mid-tier company, decent tech, nothing revolutionary. "And you just happened to decide to chat with my daughter?" "I saw her signing to herself," Ethan said, his tone mild but his eyes watchful. "Figured she could use someone to talk to." Lily tugged at Ethan's sleeve, her hands moving rapidly. Evelyn caught maybe one word in 5. "Friend? More? Something?" Ethan signed back, then turned to Evelyn. "She's asking if I can stay a little longer." "I think she's fine," Evelyn said. "Thank you for keeping her company, but I'm sure you have other people to network with." "Actually, I was just about to leave." He glanced at Lily, signed something quick, and her face fell. "But I told her I'd teach her a new sign before I go, if that's okay with you." It wasn't a question that Evelyn could reasonably say no to, not with Lily watching her with those big, hopeful eyes. So she forced a smile and nodded. "Of course." Ethan knelt again, and for the next 2 minutes, Evelyn stood there like an outsider at her own event while her daughter learned how to sign constellation. Lily's face lit up when she got it right, and Ethan gave her a high five that she returned with enthusiasm. "She's really smart," Ethan said, standing again. "You know that, right?" "Of course I know that," Evelyn said, bristling. "She's my daughter." "Right." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Well, it was nice to meet you both. Take care, Lily." He signed something to Lily that made her giggle, then walked away, disappearing into the crowd. Evelyn stood there for a moment, feeling off balance. She looked down at Lily, who was already focused on her tablet again, the light from the screen reflecting in her glasses. "Ready to go home?" Evelyn signed, using the handful of signs she'd bothered to learn. Home, car, now. Lily nodded without looking up. The drive home was silent, which was nothing new. Lily sat in the back seat, staring out the window at the city lights streaking past. Evelyn gripped the steering wheel tighter than necessary and tried not to replay the scene at the gala. She should have been celebrating. She'd landed 3 new investor meetings and gotten confirmation that the Forbes piece would run next month. Instead, she felt hollow. Their house sat on 2 acres in the hills, all glass and steel and architectural ambition. Evelyn had bought it 2 years ago, right after Crosstech's second funding round. It had a home gym, a wine cellar, a pool with an infinity edge. Lily's bedroom had an ensuite bathroom and a walk-in closet bigger than most studio apartments. "Go brush your teeth," Evelyn signed when they got inside. Brush. Teeth. Bed. Lily nodded and headed upstairs without argument. Evelyn poured herself a glass of wine and sat on the couch in the dark living room, staring at nothing. The house felt enormous and empty, which was absurd because she was used to the silence. She'd grown up in silence. Her parents had been the kind of people who believed children should be seen and not heard, and Evelyn had learned early how to make herself useful by staying out of the way. She'd never been lonely. She'd been focused. So why did tonight feel different? Her phone buzzed. A text from her assistant. Forbes wants to schedule the interview for Thursday. Works for you? Perfect, Evelyn typed back. Another buzz. This one from her VP of Engineering. Quantum deal is moving forward. Legal wants to meet Monday to go over terms. I'll be there. She should have felt triumphant. Instead, she felt tired. Upstairs, she found Lily already in bed, her tablet propped on her knees. Evelyn sat on the edge of the mattress and gently took it away. Time to sleep. Lily's hands moved. 5 more minutes? No, sleep now. Lily's face scrunched in frustration, but she didn't argue. She rarely did. She just accepted. Always so patient, always so compliant. It should have made things easier, but instead it made Evelyn feel like she was failing some test she didn't know she was taking. Good night, Evelyn signed, then leaned down to kiss Lily's forehead. Lily didn't kiss back. She just closed her eyes. Evelyn stood there for a moment, looking down at her daughter, this small, complicated person she'd brought into the world but didn't really know. Then she turned off the light and left. The next 3 days passed in the usual blur of meetings and emails and conference calls. Evelyn barely saw Lily, except in the mornings, when she dropped her off at school, and in the evenings when she picked her up. Their interactions followed a script. How was school? Good. Do you have homework? Yes. Did you eat? Yes. And then Lily would retreat to her room, and Evelyn would retreat to her home office, and the house would fill with the kind of silence that had nothing to do with sound. On Thursday night, Evelyn was working late when her phone buzzed with a notification from the school's parent portal. She almost ignored it, probably just another permission slip or fundraiser announcement, but something made her click through. Parent-teacher conference request. Lily Cross. Evelyn frowned. It was only October. Parent-teacher conferences weren't until November. She opened the message. Dear Ms. Cross, I'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss Lily's progress this semester. I have some concerns about her social development and would appreciate the opportunity to talk in person. Please let me know your availability. Best regards, Jessica Martinez, 2nd grade teacher. Concerns about social development. Evelyn read it twice, then checked her calendar. She had back-to-back meetings tomorrow, a lunch with investors on Monday, the quantum deal on Tuesday. She didn't have time for this. But she replied anyway. I can meet Friday at 4 p.m. The response came within minutes. Perfect. See you then. Lily's school was one of those progressive private institutions that cost $40,000 a year and prided itself on individualized learning paths and holistic development. The classrooms had beanbag chairs and standing desks. The cafeteria served organic, locally sourced meals. Every teacher had a master's degree and a reassuring smile. Evelyn arrived at 4:02, which counted as on time in her book. She found Jessica Martinez in a 2nd grade classroom decorated with alphabet posters and student artwork. Ms. Martinez was younger than Evelyn expected, maybe late 20s, with curly brown hair pulled into a ponytail and the kind of earnest expression that made Evelyn immediately tired. Ms. Cross, thank you so much for coming. She gestured to a chair, an adult-sized chair, thankfully, not one of the tiny ones the kids used. I really appreciate you making time. Of course, Evelyn said, sitting. Your email mentioned concerns about Lily's social development? Yes. Ms. Martinez folded her hands on the desk, her expression shifting to something more serious. I want to start by saying that Lily is doing wonderfully academically. She's reading above grade level, her math skills are excellent, and she's very creative. But I've noticed she tends to isolate herself during free time. She doesn't interact much with the other children. She's deaf, Evelyn said flatly. Communication is harder for her. I understand that. And we do have a sign language interpreter who works with Lily during class. But outside of structured activities, she seems withdrawn. She sits by herself at lunch. She doesn't participate in playground games. When the other kids try to engage with her, she tends to pull back. Evelyn felt defensive heat rising in her chest. What exactly are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything, Miss Martinez said quickly. I just think Lily might benefit from more opportunities to connect with peers. We have a social skills group that meets twice a week. Lily doesn't need a social skills group. She's 7. I know. But at this age, peer relationships are really important for development. And I've noticed that when she does communicate, she seems very guarded, like she's afraid of saying the wrong thing. She's not afraid, she's just introverted. Ms. Martinez hesitated. Ms. Cross, can I ask, how much time do you spend communicating with Lily at home? In sign language, I mean. The question hit like a slap. Evelyn stiffened. Enough. I'm not judging. I'm just trying to understand her situation, because when I asked Lily who she talks to most, she mentioned her interpreter here at school and someone named Ethan. Evelyn's stomach dropped. Ethan? She said he's a friend. Someone she emails with? She's emailing someone? You didn't know? Evelyn stood abruptly. Thank you for your time, Ms. Martinez. I'll handle this. Ms. Cross, wait. But Evelyn was already walking out. Maud. She drove home too fast, her mind racing. Lily was emailing someone, a stranger, a man Evelyn had met for all of 5 minutes at a gala. How was that even possible? Lily's tablet had parental controls. Evelyn had set them up herself, except she hadn't checked them in months. At home, she found Lily in her room, lying on her stomach on the bed with her tablet in front of her. Evelyn crossed the room in 3 strides and yanked the device away. Hey! Lily's hands flew. Give it back. Who's Ethan? Evelyn demanded, forgetting to sign. Lily's face went pale. Her hands moved hesitantly. Friend. Where did you meet him? The party. And you've been emailing him? Lily nodded, her eyes wide and frightened. Evelyn unlocked the tablet with shaking fingers and opened the email app. There were dozens of messages going back 3 days. She opened the most recent one. Hey Lily, how was school today? Did you finish that drawing of the solar system? I bet it looks awesome. My son Noah is working on a science project about Mars. Maybe you two could compare notes sometime. Ethan. And Lily's response? School was okay. I finished the drawing. Mrs. Martinez said it was good. I don't have friends to show it to. Do you think Noah would want to see it? Evelyn's chest tightened. She scrolled up, reading message after message. Ethan asking about Lily's day. Lily telling him about school, about books she was reading, about the frustration of not understanding what other kids were saying when they didn't face her. Ethan responding with patience and humor and the kind of attention that Evelyn should have been giving her daughter all along. In one message, Lily had written, My mom doesn't sign much. I think she's too busy. It's okay. I'm used to it. Evelyn's vision blurred. Why didn't you tell me? She signed, her hands jerky and unpracticed. You didn't ask, Lily signed back. I'm your mother. You should have told me. You're always working. That's not fair. It's true. The words hung in the air between them. Lily's face was set in an expression Evelyn had never seen before. Not anger exactly, but something close to it. Defiance. Hurt. You can't email strangers, Evelyn signed, her movements sharp. Dangerous. Not safe. He's not a stranger. He's nice. He listens. I listen. No, Lily signed, her small hands emphatic. You don't. And then she grabbed the tablet back, shoved past Evelyn, and locked herself in the bathroom. Evelyn stood in the empty bedroom, staring at the closed door. Her hands were trembling. She wanted to follow Lily, to apologize, to explain that she was doing her best. But her best was apparently not good enough, and she didn't know how to fix that. So she did what she always did when things got hard. She went to her office, opened her laptop, and buried herself in work. She didn't see Lily again until morning. When Evelyn knocked on her door at 7 a.m., Lily emerged already dressed for school, her backpack slung over one shoulder. She didn't look at Evelyn, didn't sign, just walked past her and out to the car. The drive to school was excruciating. Evelyn tried to start a conversation 3 times, but Lily kept her face turned toward the window, ignoring her. I'm sorry, Evelyn signed at a red light, even though Lily wasn't looking. Sorry, please. Lily finally turned, her expression unreadable. For what? For... Evelyn's hands faltered, for not learning sign language, for not trying harder, for building a company instead of a relationship, for being exactly the kind of mother she'd sworn she'd never be. For what? Lily signed again, sharper this time. For not being better, Evelyn signed, the words clumsy and inadequate. Lily stared at her for a long moment. Then she turned back to the window. When they pulled up to the school, Lily got out without saying goodbye. Evelyn made it through exactly 2 hours of work before she broke. She was in a meeting with her leadership team, half listening to a presentation on Q4 projections, when her VP of marketing asked her a direct question, and she realized she had no idea what they'd been talking about. "Sorry," she said, rubbing her temples. "Can you repeat that?" Her VP exchanged a glance with the CFO. "Are you okay?" "Fine, just tired." But she wasn't fine. She was the opposite of fine. She was a mess. After the meeting, she locked herself in her office and did something she almost never did. She Googled how to learn sign language. The results were overwhelming. Online courses, local classes, YouTube tutorials, apps, books. Where did you even start? She clicked on a random YouTube video titled ASL Basics for Parents. A woman with a cheerful smile appeared on screen, demonstrating the sign for hello. Evelyn tried to copy it. Her fingers felt awkward and stiff. "Don't worry if it feels weird at first," the woman chirped. "You'll get the hang of it." Evelyn closed the laptop. This was ridiculous. She was the CEO of a $500 million company. She'd negotiated multi-million-dollar deals, managed teams of hundreds, navigated hostile takeovers. She could learn sign language. How hard could it be? Except every time she tried to practice, she felt like an idiot. The signs didn't stick. Her hands wouldn't cooperate. And even when she managed to string together a sentence, it felt mechanical, like she was performing rather than communicating. By the time she picked Lily up from school, she'd made exactly 0 progress. Lily got in the car without a word, her face a mask of polite indifference. Evelyn's heart sank. "How was school?" she signed. "Fine," Lily signed back, not looking at her. "Do you want to get ice cream?" "No." "Do you want to talk?" "No." They drove home in silence. Yeah. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Evelyn sat in her office with a glass of wine and Lily's tablet in front of her. She'd promised herself she wouldn't read any more of the emails. It felt like an invasion of privacy. But she couldn't help it. She opened the message thread and scrolled to the beginning. The first email was from Ethan, sent the day after the gala. "Hi, Lily. It was really great to meet you last night. I had a lot of fun talking with you. If you ever want to chat, my email is ethan.cole.007@gmail.com. No pressure, just thought I'd offer. Your friend, Ethan." And Lily's response, sent the same day. "Hi, Ethan. Thank you for talking to me. Nobody talks to me at parties. My mom is always busy. Do you have kids?" Lily. Evelyn's throat tightened. She kept reading. Ethan had told Lily about his son, Noah, who was 9 and loved science and also knew sign language. Lily had asked why Noah knew how to sign, and Ethan had explained that Noah's mother, Ethan's late wife, had been deaf, that they'd lost her 3 years ago to cancer. "I'm sorry your wife died," Lily had written. "That's really sad. Does Noah miss her?" "Every day," Ethan had replied. "But we're doing okay. We talk about her a lot, which helps. And Noah knows she'd be proud of the person he's becoming." "My mom doesn't talk to me much," Lily had written. "I think she wishes I wasn't deaf. She never learned sign language. I think maybe it makes her sad." "Have you asked her about it?" Ethan had asked. "No, she's too busy." Evelyn set the tablet down and covered her face with her hands. She'd failed. Spectacularly, completely, catastrophically failed. And the worst part was, she hadn't even realized it until a stranger pointed it out. She thought about all the times she'd told herself she was doing the right thing, working hard to provide for Lily, making sure she had the best schools, the best resources, the best opportunities. But what Lily needed wasn't resources. It was connection. And Evelyn had been too proud, too scared, too stubborn to give it to her. She picked up her phone and, before she could talk herself out of it, typed Ethan's email into a new message. "Mr. Cole, this is Evelyn Cross, Lily's mother. I need to talk to you. Can we meet?" She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The reply came 10 minutes later. "Sure. When and where?" Evelyn stared at the message for a long time before typing back. "Tomorrow. 10 a.m. There's a coffee shop on 5th Street called The Grind. Do you know it? I'll be there." Evelyn set the phone down and exhaled slowly. She had no idea what she was going to say to him, no idea how to fix any of this, but for the first time in a long time, she was willing to try. The Grind was the kind of coffee shop that tried too hard to be quirky. Exposed brick walls covered with local art that nobody wanted to buy, mismatched furniture that looked salvaged from estate sales, a chalkboard menu written in unnecessarily elaborate cursive. Evelyn arrived 15 minutes early because she always arrived early. But Ethan was already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee in front of him. He stood when he saw her, a gesture that felt old-fashioned and oddly disarming. "Miss Cross, Evelyn is fine." She sat across from him, eyeing the coffee cups. "You didn't know what I drink." "I took a guess. Black, no sugar. You seem like the type." He wasn't wrong, which annoyed her. She took a sip. It was good coffee, better than the swill they served at her office. "Thank you for meeting me." "Of course." He settled back in his chair, watching her with an expression that was polite but guarded. He knew why she was here. "I assume this is about the emails." "You've been talking to my daughter for almost a week." "She reached out to me first," Ethan said. "I gave her my email at the Gala, but I didn't push it. I figured if she wanted to talk, she would." "She's 7. I'm aware." "So you understand why this is inappropriate?" Ethan's jaw tightened, but his voice stayed calm. "I understand why you might see it that way. But I wasn't trying to be inappropriate. I was trying to be kind." "By going behind my back?" "I didn't go behind your back. Lily emailed me. I responded. I never suggested keeping it secret from you." Evelyn set her cup down harder than necessary. "You don't get to decide what's appropriate for my daughter. You're a stranger. And yet I'm the one she's talking to." The words were soft but landed like a punch. Ethan leaned forward, his expression shifting from polite to direct. "Look, I'm not trying to overstep, but Lily needed someone to listen to her and you weren't doing it. So yeah, I stepped in. You don't know anything about my relationship with my daughter. I know what she tells me, and what she tells me is that you don't sign, that you're always working, that she spends most of her time alone." Evelyn's hands clenched under the table. "I provide everything she needs, except the one thing that actually matters, which is you." Ethan sat back, his expression softening slightly. "She doesn't need a bigger house or a better school or more stuff. She needs a mother who can talk to her. Actually talk, not just issue instructions." The silence stretched between them, thick and uncomfortable. Evelyn wanted to argue, to defend herself, to list all the ways she'd sacrificed for Lily. But the words stuck in her throat because somewhere, deep down, she knew he was right. "I'm trying," she said finally, hating how small her voice sounded. "I've been trying." "Have you?" Ethan's tone wasn't cruel, just honest. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you've been avoiding it. I don't know how to sign. So learn." "It's not that simple." "Why not?" Evelyn opened her mouth, then closed it. Why wasn't it simple? She'd learned Mandarin for a business deal in Beijing. She'd taught herself to code so she could understand her engineering team. She'd mastered contract law, financial modeling, public speaking. So why couldn't she learn sign language? "I don't have time," she said. And even as she said it, she knew how pathetic it sounded. Ethan didn't call her on it. He just watched her, waiting. "When my daughter was born," Evelyn said slowly, "the doctors told me she was deaf. And I remember thinking, okay, we'll fix this. Cochlear implants, speech therapy, whatever it took. I researched everything. I made appointments with the best specialists. I was ready to do whatever was necessary. But you couldn't fix it." "No, I mean, we tried implants, but they didn't work well for her. The doctors said her hearing loss was too profound. So then it was all about speech therapy and lip reading and making sure she could function in a hearing world." Evelyn paused, staring into her coffee. "I convinced myself that if I just worked hard enough, made enough money, I could give her every advantage. The best schools, the best resources. I could make her life easier. But you never learned to sign." "No." "Why?" Evelyn's throat tightened. "Because if I learned to sign, I'd be admitting that she was different, that she wasn't going to be the daughter I'd imagined, and I wasn't ready to admit that." The confession hung in the air between them. Ethan didn't respond right away. He just nodded slowly, like he understood something she hadn't fully realized herself. My wife was deaf, he said finally. Sarah, we met in college. She was studying architecture. I was doing computer science. We had a class together, and I spent the whole semester trying to work up the courage to talk to her. Did you know sign language then? No, I learned because of her. Took a class, practiced every day, made a complete fool of myself trying to flirt in ASL. He smiled at the memory. But it was worth it. We got married right after graduation. Had Noah 2 years later. And she taught him to sign. From day one. She was adamant about it. Said she wanted him to grow up bilingual, able to move between both worlds. And he did. By the time he was 3, he was fluent. Ethan's expression darkened. When Sarah got sick, we tried everything. Chemo, radiation, experimental treatments. Nothing worked. She died when Noah was 6. I'm sorry. Me too. He took a sip of his coffee. But before she died, she made me promise something. She made me promise that I wouldn't let Noah forget her language. That I'd keep signing with him, keep that connection alive. And have you? Every day. Even when it hurts. Even when it reminds me of what I lost. He met Evelyn's eyes. Because losing her was devastating, but losing the ability to communicate with my son would be even worse. Evelyn felt something crack inside her chest. Lily asked me once why I didn't learn to sign. She was 5. We were in the car, and she wrote it on a piece of paper because she didn't know enough letters yet to type it out. Why don't you talk like me? I told her I was too busy, that I'd learn someday. But you didn't. No, because every time I thought about it, I felt this panic. Like if I learned, I'd be giving up on the idea that she could be normal, that we could be a normal family. There's no such thing as normal, Ethan said quietly. There's just what is. And what is that you have a daughter who loves you and wants to talk to you. But you have to meet her where she is, not where you wish she was. Evelyn's vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing to cry in front of a stranger in a coffee shop. I don't know if I can. Yes, you can. You're just scared. Of what? Of failing. Of trying and still not being good enough. Ethan leaned forward again, his voice gentle but firm. But here's the thing, Evelyn. You're already failing, so you might as well fail while trying. The words should have stung, but instead they felt like relief, like someone had finally said out loud what she'd been too afraid to admit. How do I start? She asked. You start by showing up. You take a class. You practice. You make mistakes. You let Lily teach you, and you keep going, even when it's hard. That's it? That's it. He smiled slightly. Well, that, and you stop emailing me to check if you're doing it right. Lily's your daughter, not mine. Despite everything, Evelyn almost laughed. I haven't been emailing you. Yet. He pulled out his phone and slid it across the table. There was a contact screen open with his number. But when you do, here's my number. For emergencies. Or if you need advice. Or if you just want to tell me I was right. Evelyn saved the number, then slid the phone back. I'm not going to tell you you were right. We'll see. They sat in silence for a moment, the noise of the coffee shop filling the space between them. Someone's espresso machine hissed. A barista called out an order. Outside, rain had started to fall, streaking the windows. Can I ask you something? Evelyn said. Sure. Why did you email Lily back? You didn't know me. You had no obligation to get involved. Ethan considered the question. Because when I saw her at that gala, sitting alone while everyone around her talked and laughed and completely ignored her, I saw my wife. Sarah used to say that being deaf wasn't the hard part. The hard part was being invisible. Being in a room full of people and having no one see you. He paused. Lily looked invisible that night, and I couldn't just walk away from that. Evelyn's throat ached. Thank you for seeing her. Don't thank me. Just do better. She nodded, knowing she deserved that, knowing she had no right to feel defensive. I will. Good. Ethan stood, pulling on his jacket. I should get going. I'm picking Noah up from school. Wait. Evelyn stood too. Could you help me? Not with Lily, just with learning. I know there are classes, but having someone who actually knows what they're doing. Ethan hesitated, and for a moment she thought he'd say no. Then he nodded. I'll think about it. But first, you need to prove you're serious. Take a class. Practice on your own. Show me you're committed, and then we'll talk. Okay. And Evelyn? He paused at the door. Stop punishing yourself for not being perfect. Lily doesn't need perfect, she just needs present. Then he was gone, leaving Evelyn alone with her coffee and the weight of everything she needed to fix. She pulled out her phone and searched for sign language classes. There was one that met Tuesday and Thursday evenings at the community center, 6 blocks from her office. Beginner ASL. She signed up before she could change her mind, paying the registration fee with shaking hands. Then she texted her assistant, "Clear my calendar Tuesday and Thursday evenings for the next 3 months. Personal commitment, non-negotiable." The response came immediately. Done. Evelyn sat back down and stared at her phone. She felt terrified and exhausted, and something else she couldn't quite name. Hope, maybe, or at least the possibility of it. When she got home, Lily was in the living room with her homework spread across the coffee table. She looked up when Evelyn walked in, her expression wary. Evelyn sat down next to her, close, but not crowding. She pulled up a video on her phone, one of the ASL tutorials she'd bookmarked. Then she looked at Lily and signed, slowly and clumsily. "I'm sorry. I want to learn. Will you help me?" Lily's eyes went wide. She stared at Evelyn like she wasn't sure she'd seen correctly. Then her hands moved, tentative. "Really? Really?" Evelyn signed back. Lily's face crumpled, and for a horrible moment Evelyn thought she'd done something wrong. But then Lily threw her arms around her, burying her face in Evelyn's shoulder, and Evelyn realized she was crying because she was happy. Evelyn held her daughter and felt something inside her chest unclench. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. It wasn't even close to fixing things. But it was a start. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Evelyn sat at her kitchen table with a notebook and watched ASL tutorials until her eyes burned. She practiced the alphabet until her fingers ached. She learned the signs for "I love you" and "I'm sorry" and "thank you" and repeated them over and over until they felt less like a performance and more like a language. It was past midnight when she finally closed the laptop, her brain full of hand shapes she'd probably forget by morning. But she felt something she hadn't felt in years. She felt like a mother. The next morning, Lily came downstairs for breakfast and found a note on the kitchen table. It was written in English, but at the bottom, Evelyn had drawn 3 symbols, the ASL signs for I, love, and you. Lily picked up the note and stared at it for a long moment. Then she folded it carefully and put it in her backpack. At school, when her teacher asked if everything was okay at home, Lily signed, "My mom is learning to talk to me." Miss Martinez smiled. "That's wonderful, Lily." Lily nodded, her face serious. "I think she's scared, but she's trying." Sometimes trying is the bravest thing we can do. Lily thought about that, then signed, "I think my mom is brave. She just doesn't know it yet." That afternoon, Evelyn picked Lily up from school and they drove to the library. Evelyn had called ahead to make sure they had children's books about sign language, and the librarian had pulled a whole stack. They sat at a table in the kids section, surrounded by picture books about deaf characters and families and schools, and Evelyn read while Lily signed along. They weren't perfect at it. Evelyn stumbled over words, and Lily had to correct her hand shapes more than once. But they were talking, actually talking. And when a little girl at the next table stared at them, Lily didn't shrink away. She just kept signing, her hands confident and clear. On Tuesday evening, Evelyn went to her first ASL class. It was held in a windowless room at the community center, with fluorescent lights that hummed and plastic chairs arranged in a circle. There were 12 other students, ranging from teenagers to retirees. The instructor was a woman named Diane, who was deaf and had an interpreter named Marcus, who voiced for her. "Welcome to Beginner ASL," Diane signed, and Marcus translated. "I'm going to be honest with you. Learning a new language is hard. Learning sign language is harder because you're not just learning words, you're learning to think differently, to communicate with your whole body, not just your voice. Some of you will find this easy. Most of you won't, and that's okay." Evelyn felt a flutter of anxiety. She was used to being good at things, or at least competent. The idea of struggling in front of strangers made her want to leave. But then Diane signed, "Why are you here? What made you decide to learn ASL?" The students went around the circle. A teenage girl whose best friend was deaf. A grandfather whose grandson had just been diagnosed with hearing loss. A nurse who wanted to communicate better with patients. And then it was Evelyn's turn. "My daughter is deaf," she said, her voice tight. "And I never learned to sign. I should have, but I didn't. So I'm here to fix that." Diane watched her for a moment, then signed something. Marcus translated. "Better late than never. Let's get started." For the next 2 hours, Evelyn learned the ASL alphabet, basic greetings, and simple phrases. Her hands felt clumsy, and her brain kept trying to translate word for word, which Diane gently corrected. But by the end of class, she could introduce herself, ask someone's name, and say "nice to meet you" without looking at her notes. It wasn't much, but it was progress. When she got home, Lily was already asleep. Evelyn stood in her doorway, watching her daughter's chest rise and fall. She thought about all the nights she'd done this exact thing, stood in this exact spot, and felt like she was looking at a stranger. But tonight felt different. Tonight, she felt like she was looking at someone she was finally starting to know. She tiptoed in and kissed Lily's forehead. "I'm trying," she whispered, even though Lily couldn't hear her. "I promise I'm trying." The next day, Evelyn was in a meeting with her leadership team when her phone buzzed. She glanced at it, expecting her assistant, but the text was from an unknown number. "This is Ethan. Heard you took a class last night. How'd it go?" Evelyn blinked. She hadn't given him her number, which meant he must have asked Lily. Or maybe he'd just looked up Crosstech's main line and asked for her. Either way, the fact that he was checking in made something warm settle in her chest. She texted back, "Hard, but I'm not quitting. Good, keep going. It gets easier." Then, a moment later, "Lily told Noah you're learning. He wants to know if you need a study buddy. Fair warning, he's 9 and will absolutely correct your grammar." Despite herself, Evelyn smiled. "Tell him I'll think about it." "Will do." She set her phone down and tried to refocus on the meeting, but her CFO was giving her a strange look. "Everything okay?" "Fine," Evelyn said. "Just a personal matter." "You're smiling." "Am I?" "Yeah, it's kind of freaking me out." Evelyn laughed, and the whole team stared at her like she'd grown a second head. She couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed at work. Couldn't remember the last time she'd felt this light. That evening, she practiced signing while making dinner. Lily sat at the kitchen island, watching her with a mix of amusement and exasperation as Evelyn tried to sign "I'm making pasta" and accidentally signed "I'm making a hat." "No, Mom," Lily signed, demonstrating the correct motion. "Like this." Evelyn copied her, getting it wrong twice more before finally getting it right. "I'm terrible at this." "You're not terrible. You're new." Lily paused, then signed, "It's okay to be bad at something. I don't like being bad at things." "I know, but you're trying. That's what matters." Evelyn felt her throat tighten. "When did you get so wise?" "I'm 7. I've been wise for years. You just didn't notice." Evelyn laughed, a sound that came out more like a sob. "You're right. I didn't notice a lot of things." Lily hopped off the stool and hugged her, and Evelyn held on tight, wondering how she'd gone 7 years without realizing what she'd been missing. Over the next 2 weeks, Evelyn threw herself into learning ASL with the same intensity she'd once reserved for board meetings and product launches. She watched tutorials during her commute. She practiced fingerspelling in the elevator. She video called Diane outside of class to ask questions. She even downloaded an app that turned her text messages into sign language animations. Lily became her unofficial tutor, patiently correcting her mistakes and teaching her slang that Diane's class didn't cover. They had whole conversations now, short and halting, but real. Evelyn learned to ask about Lily's day and actually understand the answer. Lily learned that her mother was trying, really trying, and that mattered more than being perfect. But it wasn't easy. There were nights when Evelyn wanted to quit, when her brain felt too full and her hands hurt, and she couldn't remember if the sign she'd just done meant confused or chicken. There were moments when she caught herself slipping back into old habits, issuing instructions instead of asking questions, defaulting to English instead of signing. And there were still gaps, huge chasms of things she didn't know how to say. How to comfort Lily when she was sad. How to celebrate when she was proud. How to explain the complicated, messy love she felt, but had never known how to express. 2 weeks after that first coffee shop meeting, Evelyn texted Ethan, "I'm ready. If your offer still stands, I could use some help. His response came within minutes. Saturday afternoon, Riverside Park. Bring Lily. Why Lily? Because this isn't just about you learning, it's about you two connecting, and she's a better teacher than I'll ever be. Evelyn stared at the message, then typed, Okay, see you at 2. Saturday was one of those crisp autumn days that felt stolen from summer, all blue skies and golden light. Evelyn and Lily arrived at Riverside Park to find Ethan and Noah already there, tossing a frisbee near the playground. Noah was tall for 9, with his father's dark hair and a gap-toothed grin. When he saw Lily, he waved enthusiastically and signed something too fast for Evelyn to catch. Lily lit up and signed back, and then the two of them were off, running toward the swings. Ethan walked over, hands in his pockets. She's doing better. She's talking more, Evelyn agreed. At least I think she is. I still miss half of what she says. That'll get easier. The more you practice, the faster you'll pick it up. He gestured toward a bench. Come on, let's start with conversation practice. For the next hour, Evelyn and Ethan sat on that bench while their kids played, and Evelyn practiced signing about mundane things. The weather, her week at work, a book she was reading. It felt awkward at first, like trying to speak with her mouth full, but Ethan was patient. He corrected her gently, demonstrated when she got stuck, and didn't laugh when she accidentally signed, I love meetings instead of I hate meetings. You're getting better, he said after she successfully signed a whole paragraph about a disastrous client call. I'm making fewer mistakes, maybe, but I still feel like I'm translating in my head instead of just thinking in sign. That's normal. It takes time for it to feel natural. Evelyn watched Lily and Noah on the swings, signing to each other between bursts of laughter. She looks happy. She is happy. You're giving her what she needed. I'm trying. I know. Ethan followed her gaze. You know what Sarah used to say? She said the hearing world spends so much time trying to fix deaf people that they forget to just listen to them. Stop trying to make them fit into your world and start meeting them in theirs. I spent 7 years trying to fix Lily, Evelyn said quietly, trying to make her more like me, and I almost lost her because of it. But you didn't. You're still here. You're still trying. Is it enough? Ask her. Evelyn looked at him, startled. What? Ask Lily if what you're doing is enough. Stop asking me. Stop asking yourself. Ask her. It was such a simple idea, but it hadn't occurred to Evelyn. She'd been so focused on whether she was doing things right that she hadn't thought to ask Lily how she felt about it. That night, after they'd gotten home and eaten dinner and Lily was getting ready for bed, Evelyn sat on the edge of her mattress and signed, Can I ask you something? Lily nodded, her hairbrush paused mid-stroke. Am I doing okay? With learning? With us? Lily set the brush down and thought for a moment. Then she signed, You're doing good. Not perfect, but good. What can I do better? Just keep trying, and maybe don't sign chicken when you mean confused. Lily grinned. Evelyn laughed. I'll work on that. Mom? Yeah? I'm proud of you. The words hit Evelyn like a freight train. Her eyes burned and her throat closed up, and she couldn't sign anything back because her hands were shaking too hard. So she just pulled Lily into a hug and held on, and Lily hugged back. And for the first time in 7 years, Evelyn felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. The following Tuesday, Evelyn was 20 minutes into her ASL class when her phone vibrated in her bag. She ignored it. Diane was in the middle of teaching directional verbs, and Evelyn was already struggling to keep up. But then it vibrated again. And again. During the break, she checked her messages. 3 texts from her assistant, each more urgent than the last. Marcus Webb is threatening to pull out of the partnership. He wants to meet tomorrow morning. His team is saying we misrepresented our capabilities. Call me ASAP. Evelyn's stomach dropped. Marcus Webb ran one of the biggest cybersecurity firms in the country, and his partnership with Crosstech was supposed to be announced next month. If he pulled out now, it would tank their Q4 projections and make them look incompetent in front of every investor who'd been promised a major deal. She stepped into the hallway and called her assistant. What happened? I don't know all the details. Something about the integration timeline. Marcus's CTO is saying we promised 6 months, and now we're saying 12. We never promised 6 months. That was never on the table. I'm just telling you what they're saying. Marcus wants to meet tomorrow at 8, in person. Evelyn closed her eyes. 8 in the morning meant she'd have to skip taking Lily to school. It meant canceling the breakfast meeting she'd scheduled with her engineering lead. It meant rearranging her entire day for a problem that shouldn't exist. Fine, set it up. I'll be there. Already done. Conference room B. Evelyn hung up and leaned against the wall. Through the door, she could hear Diane starting the second half of class. She should go back in. She was paying for this class. She'd made a commitment, but Marcus Webb could destroy everything she'd built with one press release. She couldn't afford to mess this up. She texted Diane's interpreter. Family emergency. Have to leave early. Sorry. Then she grabbed her bag and left. At home, she found Lily asleep on the couch with her tablet balanced on her chest, playing some video about constellations. Evelyn turned it off and gently shook her daughter's shoulder. Lily's eyes fluttered open, confused and sleepy. Bedtime, Evelyn signed. Lily sat up, rubbing her eyes. You're home early. Work thing. Come on, let's get you upstairs. What about class? I'll make it up next week. Lily's face fell, but she didn't argue. She just trudged upstairs, and Evelyn felt the guilt settle in her chest like a stone. The meeting with Marcus Webb was exactly as bad as Evelyn had feared. He showed up with his CTO and his head of legal, and they spent 90 minutes picking apart every detail of the partnership agreement. The timeline issue turned out to be a miscommunication between his team and hers, but Marcus didn't care. He wanted guarantees that Crosstech could deliver, and he wanted them in writing. I need to know I'm not making a mistake here, Marcus said, his arms crossed. Because if this blows up in my face, it's not just bad for business, it's humiliating. We've never failed to deliver on a commitment, Evelyn said, keeping her voice steady even though she wanted to throw something. Not once in 5 years. There's a first time for everything. By the time they hammered out a revised agreement, it was past noon. Evelyn's head pounded and her stomach was empty, and she'd missed 3 calls from Lily's school. She called back on the drive to the office. Miss Cross, this is Jessica Martinez. I just wanted to check in about Lily. Evelyn's grip tightened on the steering wheel. Is she okay? She's fine physically, but she's been very withdrawn today. She wouldn't participate in group activities, and during lunch, she sat by herself. When I asked if something was wrong, she said her mom didn't have time for her anymore. The words felt like a slap. That's not true. I'm just telling you what she said. I had an emergency at work. I'm handling it. I understand, but Lily doesn't. She just knows you left class early and didn't come home until late. Miss Martinez paused. I'm not trying to criticize. I just think she needs some reassurance. Evelyn closed her eyes. I'll talk to her. Thank you. But when Evelyn picked Lily up that afternoon, her daughter barely looked at her. She climbed into the car, buckled herself in, and stared out the window. How was school? Evelyn signed. Lily shrugged. Miss Martinez said you had a rough day. Another shrug. Lily, talk to me. You left class, Lily signed, her movements sharp and angry. I had a work emergency. You always have work emergencies. That's not fair. It's true. Lily turned to face her, and her eyes were bright with tears. You said you were trying. You said you wanted to learn, but you're still picking work over me. That's not what happened. Then what happened? Evelyn wanted to explain about Marcus Webb, about the partnership, about how if she didn't fix this, the company could be in serious trouble. But looking at Lily's face, she realized her daughter didn't care about any of that. She just cared that her mother had made a promise and broken it. You're right, Evelyn signed slowly. I messed up. I'm sorry. Lily wiped her eyes. Are you going to keep messing up? Probably. I'm not perfect. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to show up. The drive home was silent, but it was a different kind of silence than before. Not comfortable exactly, but not hostile either, just sad. That night, Evelyn worked from home instead of going to the office. She sat at the kitchen table with her laptop while Lily did homework at the other end, and every 20 minutes or so, one of them would look up and sign something, small things. Want a snack? What are you working on? This math problem is stupid. It wasn't much, but it was something. At 8 o'clock, Evelyn's phone rang. Ethan's name flashed on the screen. She answered, stepping into the hallway. Hey, everything okay? Diane told me you left class early last night. His tone was neutral, but she could hear the question underneath. Work emergency. It couldn't wait. There's always going to be a work emergency, Evelyn. I know that. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're falling back into old patterns. Evelyn's jaw tightened. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't I? You made a commitment to that class, to Lily. And the first time something else came up, you bailed. I didn't bail. I had a legitimate crisis. And next week there will be another crisis. And the week after that. There's always going to be something more urgent than learning to talk to your daughter. He paused. The question is, are you going to let that be your excuse? I'm not making excuses. Then prove it. Show up next week, and the week after, and the week after that, even when it's hard, even when there's a fire to put out at work. Show up anyway. Evelyn wanted to argue, to defend herself, to hang up on him for being self-righteous and judgmental. But she couldn't because he was right. I'll be there, she said quietly. Good. Ethan? Yeah? Why do you care so much? You barely know us. There was a long silence, then, because I know what it's like to lose someone, and I know what it's like to have regrets, and I don't want you to have the same ones I do. What do you mean? Sarah was sick for 2 years before she died, and for the first year, I kept telling myself she'd get better, that we had time. So I worked late, took on extra projects, convinced myself I was doing it for her, to save money for treatments. But really, I was just avoiding the reality that I was losing her. His voice cracked slightly. By the time I stopped working and started being present, we only had 6 months left, and I'll never forgive myself for wasting that year. Evelyn's throat tightened. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just don't make the same mistake. After he hung up, Evelyn stood in the hallway for a long time, staring at nothing. Then she went back to the kitchen and closed her laptop. I'm done working for the night, she signed to Lily. Want to watch a movie? Lily looked suspicious. Really? Really? They ended up on the couch with a bowl of popcorn between them, watching some animated movie about a girl who could talk to animals. Evelyn didn't follow most of the plot because she was too busy practicing her fingerspelling on every sign that popped up on screen, but Lily seemed happy, and that was enough. The next Saturday, they met Ethan and Noah at the library. It was a different location this time, a big central branch with high ceilings and rows of computers, and a children's section filled with bright colors and tiny chairs. Ethan had suggested they practice in public spaces, places where Lily and Noah could interact naturally while the adults worked on conversation skills. How was your week? Ethan signed when they'd settled at a table near the fiction section. Evelyn signed back. Stressful, but I made it to class Thursday. Good. You stick with it? The whole time, even though my VP called twice about a server issue. Did you answer? No. Ethan smiled. Progress. They worked on more complex conversations that afternoon, moving beyond basic pleasantries into actual discussion. Evelyn told him about the Marcus Webb situation, signing her frustration with the legal team and her anxiety about whether the deal would hold. Ethan told her about a project at work that was falling apart because his manager kept changing the requirements. It felt strange, having this kind of conversation in sign language. Strange, but good, like she was learning to think differently, to express herself in a way that wasn't just about words, but about movement and space and expression. At one point, she messed up a sign and accidentally told Ethan that his manager was a beautiful swan instead of a stubborn fool. He burst out laughing, and Lily and Noah looked over from the kids' section where they'd been reading. What's funny? Lily signed. Your mom called my boss a swan, Ethan signed back. Noah doubled over, his shoulders shaking with silent laughter. Lily grinned and signed something too fast for Evelyn to catch, but it made Noah laugh even harder. What did she say? Evelyn asked. She said you're getting better, but you still sign like a baby deer trying to walk. Despite herself, Evelyn laughed. She's not wrong. After the library, the four of them got ice cream at a shop down the street. It was one of those old-fashioned places with checkered floors and a long counter, and the teenager behind the register looked completely lost when Noah started signing his order. Ethan stepped in smoothly, voicing while Noah signed, and the transaction went off without a hitch. They sat outside at a metal table. even though it was chilly and Evelyn's fingers were going numb. Noah and Lily were having an animated conversation about their favorite ice cream flavors, their hands flying so fast that Evelyn could only catch about half of it. "They're good together," Ethan said, watching them. "Yeah, Lily needs friends like him. Noah needs friends like her too. Most of his classmates know some sign, but they don't really use it unless they have to. With Lily, he can just be himself." Evelyn took a bite of her ice cream, thinking, "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure." "How did you do it? After Sarah died, how did you keep going?" Ethan was quiet for a moment, his expression distant. "Honestly, I didn't at first. For about 6 months, I was a mess, barely functioning. My sister moved in to help with Noah because I couldn't get out of bed most days." He paused. "But then one morning, Noah came into my room and signed, 'Dad, I miss Mom, but I still need you.' And I realized I had a choice. I could keep drowning, or I could figure out how to swim." "So you figured out how to swim?" "Sort of. I went to therapy, started exercising again, got back to work, and most importantly, I started really showing up for Noah. Not just physically, but emotionally." He looked at her. "The thing is, grief doesn't go away. You don't get over it. You just learn to carry it differently." "That sounds exhausting." "It is, but it's also worth it." He gestured to Noah, who was now teaching Lily some complicated hand game. "Because look at him. He's happy. He's healthy. He knows he's loved. And yeah, he misses his mom every single day, but he's okay." Evelyn watched Lily laugh at something Noah signed, her whole face lit up with joy. "I want that for Lily. I want her to feel loved." "Then keep showing up. That's all you have to do." It sounded so simple, but simple didn't mean easy. Over the next few weeks, Evelyn fell into a new rhythm. Work was still demanding, still all-consuming at times, but she forced herself to set boundaries. No work after 7 on weeknights. No emails during meals. And Tuesday and Thursday evenings were sacred, reserved for ASL class, no matter what crisis emerged at the office. Her team noticed the change. Her assistant started scheduling meetings around her class times without being asked. Her VP of engineering stopped texting her after hours. And when the board asked for an emergency meeting on a Thursday night, Evelyn said no for the first time in her career. "Is everything okay?" one of the board members asked, sounding genuinely concerned. "Everything's fine. I just have a prior commitment." "Can't you reschedule?" "No." There was a pause, then, "All right, we'll move it to Friday morning." Evelyn hung up and felt a surge of something she hadn't felt in years. Pride. Not in closing a deal or landing a client, but in choosing her daughter over her job. At home, things were changing too. Slowly, imperfectly, but unmistakably. Lily started coming to her with questions instead of retreating to her room. They had actual conversations at dinner, not just the scripted exchanges that used to pass for communication. And one night, Lily asked if they could cook together, and Evelyn said yes, even though she had a deck to review and emails piling up. They made spaghetti, which turned into a disaster because Evelyn forgot to salt the water and Lily added too much garlic. But they were laughing by the end of it, covered in flour and tomato sauce, and completely unconcerned about the mess. "This is terrible," Evelyn signed, taking a bite of the overly garlicky pasta. "I know," Lily signed back, grinning, "but we made it together." "That's true. Can we do this again?" "Definitely, maybe with a recipe next time." Lily laughed, and Evelyn felt something settle in her chest. Not happiness, exactly, but something close. Contentment, maybe. Or at least the beginning of it. But not everything was smooth. There were still hard days, days when Evelyn's old instincts kicked in and she prioritized work over everything else. Days when she snapped at Lily for interrupting a call, or forgot to sign and just spoke English, or got frustrated when she couldn't remember a sign she'd learned 3 times already. And there were days when Lily pulled back, when the progress they'd made seemed to evaporate, and her daughter retreated into that quiet, patient shell she'd lived in for so long. One night in early November, Evelyn came home to find Lily crying in her room. Not loud, dramatic sobs, but quiet tears that she was clearly trying to hide. "What's wrong?" Evelyn signed, sitting on the bed. Lily shook her head. "Nothing." "Lily, I don't want to talk about it. Please." Lily wiped her eyes and signed, her movements jerky with emotion. "There was a presentation at school today. Everyone had to talk about their family. and I didn't know what to say. What do you mean? Emma talked about her mom and dad going camping. Tyler talked about his big sister teaching him soccer, and I didn't have anything like that. So I said my mom works a lot and I have a nanny. Evelyn's heart cracked. Lily, it's true. You do work a lot. And Mrs. Chen is nice, but she's not my mom. I'm here now, I'm trying. I know, but you weren't before, and I'm scared you're going to stop trying again. Evelyn pulled Lily into her arms, holding her tight. I'm not going to stop, I promise. You promise? I promise. Lily cried harder, her small body shaking, and Evelyn just held her and let her cry. Because sometimes promises weren't enough. Sometimes you had to prove them. The next day, Evelyn did something she'd never done before. She took a personal day. Not a sick day. Not a work-from-home day. An actual day off, where she turned off her laptop and silenced her phone and spent the entire day with Lily. They went to the aquarium, which Lily had been asking to visit for months. They watched the penguin feeding and touched starfish in the tide pool exhibit and ate overpriced pizza in the cafeteria. Evelyn signed the whole time, narrating everything they saw, and Lily signed back, telling her facts about jellyfish and seahorses that she'd learned from documentaries. At one point, they were standing in front of the big tank with the sharks, and Lily turned to Evelyn and signed, "This is the best day ever." Evelyn felt tears prick her eyes. Really? Really. Because you're here, just you and me. I should have done this a long time ago. You're doing it now, that's what matters. They stayed until closing, and on the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat with a stuffed otter clutched to her chest. Evelyn glanced at her in the rearview mirror and felt something shift inside her, a letting go of the guilt maybe, or at least a recognition that she couldn't change the past, but she could shape the future. That weekend, they went back to the library to meet Ethan and Noah. But this time, Evelyn had a request. I want to talk to you about something, she signed to Ethan once the kids had run off to the graphic novel section. Okay. I've been thinking about what you said about regrets, about showing up. She paused, searching for the right words. And I realized I don't just want to learn sign language. I want to understand Lily's world, really understand it. What do you mean? I mean, I've been so focused on making her fit into my life that I never stopped to think about what her life is like. What it feels like to be deaf in a hearing world. What she needs from me that I haven't been giving her. Ethan nodded slowly. That's a good realization. But I don't know how to do it. How do I understand something I've never experienced? You ask, you listen, and you stop making assumptions. He leaned forward. You know what Sarah used to tell me? She said hearing people always assume being deaf is about what you can't do, what you can't hear, what you can't experience. But for her, it was just a different way of being in the world. Not better or worse, just different. But Lily is growing up in a world that's not built for her. That has to be hard. Of course it's hard, but hard doesn't mean broken. Lily's not broken, Evelyn. She's just different from you, and that's okay. Evelyn felt something click into place. You're right. I've been treating her deafness like a problem to solve instead of just part of who she is. Yeah. I need to stop doing that. Yeah. They sat in silence for a moment, watching Lily and Noah through the shelves. The two kids were deep in conversation, their hands flying as they debated something with intense seriousness. She looks happy, Evelyn said. She is happy, because you're trying, because you're here. I'm terrified I'm going to screw this up. You will, probably multiple times. Ethan smiled slightly. But as long as you keep showing up, keep trying, keep learning, you'll be okay. How do you know? Because I screwed up with Noah 100 times after Sarah died. Still do, honestly. But he knows I love him. He knows I'm trying, and that's enough. Evelyn took a breath. I want to tell you something I've never told anyone. Okay? When Lily was born and the doctors told me she was deaf, my first thought wasn't sadness or worry. It was anger. She paused, the confession bitter on her tongue. I was angry at her, at this tiny, innocent baby, because she wasn't the daughter I'd imagined, because she was going to make my life harder. That's a pretty human reaction. It's awful. It's honest. Ethan met her eyes. The question is, do you still feel that way? No, I don't know. Sometimes I look at her and I feel so much love, it hurts. And other times I feel this panic, like I'm never going to be good enough for her, like I'm always going to be one step behind. Then stay one step behind, but keep walking. Evelyn laughed, a sound that came out wet and broken. You're annoyingly wise, you know that? I have my moments. Lily and Noah came back then, their arms full of graphic novels they wanted to check out. Noah was explaining the plot of one to Lily, his hands moving in quick, excited bursts, and Lily was nodding along, completely absorbed. Evelyn watched them and thought about all the conversations she'd missed, all the moments she'd let slip by because she was too busy, too focused on work, too afraid of failing. But that was over now. From here on out, she was going to show up. Even when it was hard, even when she messed up, she was going to be present. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. That night, Lily came into Evelyn's home office while she was reviewing a contract. It was late, almost 9, and Evelyn had thought her daughter was asleep, but there she was in her pajamas, holding something behind her back. "What's up?" Evelyn signed, setting down her pen. Lily pulled out a folded piece of paper and handed it over, her expression uncertain. Evelyn unfolded it carefully. It was a drawing, done in crayon and marker. 2 stick figures stood on opposite sides of the page, separated by a thick black line that ran down the middle. One figure was labeled Mom in wobbly letters. The other was labeled Me. The space between them was empty except for that dark dividing line. Evelyn's chest tightened. "When did you draw this?" "Last year, after the school talent show." "What happened at the talent show?" "I did a sign language poem. Mrs. Martinez helped me practice." "But you didn't come." Lily's hands moved slowly, deliberately. "You said you had a meeting." Evelyn remembered that day, vaguely. There'd been some crisis with a vendor, something urgent that had required her immediate attention. She'd texted Mrs. Chen to record the performance, told herself she'd watch it later. She never had. "I'm sorry," Evelyn signed, her hands shaking. "I should have been there. I kept the drawing to remember what it felt like." What felt like? Being alone. The words hit like a physical blow. Evelyn stared at the drawing, at that thick black line separating mother from daughter, and felt something crack wide open inside her. This was what Lily had been living with, not just for weeks or months, but for years. This feeling of being separated, unreachable, alone. "Can I keep this?" Evelyn signed. Lily looked surprised. "Why?" "So I can remember too. So I never forget what I almost did to us." Lily thought about it, then nodded. "Okay." She started to leave, but Evelyn caught her hand. "Wait, I want to show you something." She pulled out her phone and opened the Photos app, scrolling back through months of screenshots and work documents until she found what she was looking for. A video. The one Mrs. Chen had sent her from the talent show. "I never watched this," Evelyn signed. "I told myself I would, but I didn't. Will you watch it with me now?" Lily's eyes went wide. She nodded and climbed onto Evelyn's lap, something she hadn't done in years. Evelyn hit play. The video was shaky, clearly filmed on a phone from the back of a school auditorium. The stage was small, decorated with paper stars and streamers. And there, in the center, was Lily. 7 years old, wearing a purple dress Evelyn had forgotten buying. Her hands moved through a poem about stars and wishes and dreams, each sign precise and beautiful. Evelyn watched her daughter's face on the screen, watched how nervous she looked at first, how her hands trembled slightly. But then the poem took over and Lily transformed. She became confident, graceful, completely absorbed in what she was saying. When she finished, there was a moment of silence before the audience erupted in applause. The video ended. Evelyn sat there with Lily in her arms, both of them quiet. "That was beautiful," Evelyn signed finally. "You were beautiful." "You really think so?" "I know so, and I'm so sorry I missed it." "It's okay." "No, it's not, but I'm going to do better." Evelyn turned to Lily to face her. "I promise, from now on, I'm going to be there. For the important things and the small things, for all of it." Lily studied her face for a long moment. Then she signed, "What if you have another meeting?" "Then I'll reschedule it." "What if it's really important?" "Nothing is more important than you." Lily's eyes filled with tears. She buried her face in Evelyn's shoulder, and Evelyn held her, rocking slightly, feeling the weight of all those missed moments pressing down on her. But beneath the guilt was something else. Determination. She couldn't undo the past, but she could shape what came next. The following week, Lily's school announced their winter showcase. Ms. Martinez sent home a flyer explaining that every student would present something they'd learned that semester. A science project, a piece of writing, a musical performance, anything that showed their growth. Lily came home with the flyer clutched in her hand, her expression anxious. She handed it to Evelyn without signing anything. "What do you want to present?" Evelyn signed. Lily shrugged. "Come on, there must be something you're excited about." "I don't know, maybe nothing." "Why not?" "Because you probably won't come anyway." The words stung, but Evelyn forced herself not to get defensive. "I'll be there, I promise." "That's what you said about the talent show. And I was wrong. But I'm not wrong this time." Evelyn knelt so they were eye level. "Lily, I know I've broken promises before. I know I've let you down, but I'm asking you to give me another chance. Let me prove I mean it." Lily looked skeptical. "The showcase is on a Tuesday night." "I know. Don't you have your class then? I'll miss 1 week. You're more important." "Really? Really?" Lily thought about it, chewing her bottom lip the way she did when she was nervous. Then she signed, "Okay, I want to do a sign language story, something I wrote myself." "That sounds perfect, but I need help practicing." "I'll help you. We'll practice together." Over the next 3 weeks, mother and daughter worked on Lily's story every night after dinner. It was about a girl who lived on a planet where everyone communicated through music, but she couldn't hear any of it. She felt invisible and alone until she met someone who taught her that silence could be its own kind of music, its own kind of language. It was beautiful and heartbreaking, and so clearly about Lily's own life that Evelyn sometimes had to step away to compose herself. But they worked through it, polishing the signs, adding expression, making sure every movement had meaning. Ethan helped too. He came over one Saturday with Noah, and the 4 of them sat in the living room while Lily performed her story. When she finished, Noah applauded so hard his hands must have hurt. "That was amazing," Ethan signed to Lily. "Really, really good." "You think people will like it?" "They're gonna love it." Noah signed something to Lily that made her laugh, and the 2 of them ran off to her room to look at her collection of space books. Ethan turned to Evelyn. "How are you holding up?" "Nervous. What if I mess up? What if I'm in the front row and she sees me signing wrong and gets distracted?" "You're not going to mess up, and even if you do, she won't care. She just wants you there." "I want to be perfect for her." "She doesn't need perfect. She needs present." He paused. "You know what Sarah used to tell Noah when he was worried about making mistakes?" "What?" "She said mistakes are just proof that you're trying, and trying is the bravest thing you can do." Evelyn felt tears threaten. "Your wife sounds like she was pretty incredible." "She was. But she wasn't perfect. She had bad days, moments when she was angry at the world for making everything harder than it needed to be. Days when she was exhausted from explaining herself, from fighting to be seen." He smiled sadly. But she never gave up. She kept showing up, kept fighting, kept being exactly who she was. And that's what made her incredible. I want Lily to grow up knowing she doesn't have to fight so hard, that her mother has her back. Then show her, not with words, with actions. The night of the showcase arrived faster than Evelyn expected. She left work at 4, ignoring 3 emails that her assistant marked as urgent. She picked Lily up from school, and they went home to get ready. Lily changed into the blue dress she'd worn to the gala, the one where this whole thing had started. Evelyn wore black slacks and a simple blouse. Professional, but not overdone. In the car on the way to the school, Lily was quiet. Evelyn glanced at her in the rearview mirror and saw her daughter's hands moving through the signs of her story, practicing one more time. "You're going to be great," Evelyn signed at a red light. "What if I forget the signs?" "Then you make them up. The story is yours. However you tell it is right." "What if people don't understand?" "They'll understand, and I'll be right there in the front row, signing along with you." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? Really? We're in this together." The school auditorium was packed. Parents filled every seat. phones at the ready to record their children's moments of glory. Evelyn found a spot in the second row, close enough to see Lily clearly, but not so close that she'd be a distraction. She saved the seat next to her, and a few minutes later, Ethan and Noah arrived. "Couldn't miss this," Ethan signed, settling into the chair. Noah sat on his other side, his face bright with excitement. The showcase began with the younger grades. A kindergartner demonstrated how caterpillars turn into butterflies using construction paper and pipe cleaners. A first grader recited a poem about autumn. A second grader showed off a volcano made from paper mache that erupted with baking soda and vinegar. Then it was Lily's turn. She walked onto the stage, and Evelyn's heart clenched. Her daughter looked so small up there, so vulnerable. But when Lily's eyes found Evelyn in the audience, something shifted. Her shoulders straightened, her chin lifted. The lights dimmed slightly, and Lily began. Her hands moved through the story with a grace that took Evelyn's breath away. She told the tale of the girl on the music planet, her signs painting pictures of loneliness and isolation. Then came the turning point, when the girl met someone who saw her, who learned her language, who taught her that being different wasn't the same as being broken. Evelyn signed along from her seat, not perfectly, stumbling over a few of the more complex phrases, but doing her best. And every time Lily looked down at her, Evelyn signed, "I see you. I'm here." When Lily finished, there was a beat of silence. Then the auditorium erupted. Parents who didn't know a single sign were applauding, some with tears streaming down their faces. Miss Martinez was standing, clapping so hard it looked painful, and in the front row, Ethan and Noah were both signing amazing over and over. But Evelyn only cared about one thing. She looked at Lily, at her daughter's face radiant with pride and relief and joy, and signed, "I'm so proud of you." Lily's smile could have lit up the entire building. After the showcase, families spilled into the hallway, congratulating their children and taking photos. Evelyn found Lily surrounded by classmates, all of them chattering excitedly. A few of them were even trying to sign, their movements clumsy but earnest. Lily saw Evelyn and ran over, throwing her arms around her waist. "Did you like it?" "I loved it. You were incredible." "I was scared I'd mess up." "You didn't, not even once." "Did you see Emma trying to sign? She learned the alphabet just so she could spell my name." Evelyn looked over at a little girl with pigtails who was carefully forming letters with her fingers. "That's wonderful. She wants to be my friend." "Then you should be friends." Lily pulled back, her expression turning serious. "Mom, thank you for coming." "Of course I came. I told you I would." "I know, but you actually did it. You were here." Evelyn knelt down so they were face to face. "I'm going to keep being here. For every showcase, every presentation, every moment that matters to you. I promise." "Even if you have meetings?" "Even then." Lily hugged her again, and Evelyn held on tight, feeling the warmth of her daughter in her arms and thinking about that drawing. The one with the black line down the middle, separating them. That line was starting to fade. Not gone, not yet, but fading. Later that night, after they'd gotten home and Lily had gone to bed still buzzing with excitement, Evelyn sat in her office with Lily's drawing in front of her. She picked up a marker and, very carefully, drew a small bridge over the black line. It wasn't much, just a simple arch connecting the two stick figures, but it felt like progress. Her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "You did good tonight. Thank you for being there. Wouldn't have missed it. Noah's already planning what he wants to present next semester. You inspired him. Lily inspired him. I just showed up. Showing up is everything." Evelyn set the phone down and stared at the drawing for a long time. Then she pulled out her laptop and sent an email to her entire leadership team. "Effective immediately, I'll be implementing a new policy for myself and encouraging all of you to consider the same. No meetings after 6 p.m. unless absolutely critical. No work emails on weekends. No sacrificing personal commitments for professional ones unless lives are literally at stake. I've spent the last 7 years building this company at the expense of building a relationship with my daughter. I'm done doing that. Crosstech will survive without me working 80-hour weeks. My daughter won't thrive without me being present. I'm not asking anyone to follow my lead. But I am asking you to respect these boundaries. And if you choose to set similar boundaries for yourselves, I'll support that. Evelyn." She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Within minutes, responses started flooding in. Her VP of Engineering. "About damn time." Her CFO. "Needed to hear this. Thank you." Her assistant, "Does this mean I can actually take my vacation days?" Evelyn smiled and closed her laptop. The next few months passed in a blur of small victories and occasional setbacks. Evelyn continued her ASL classes, moving from beginner to intermediate. She started dreaming in sign language, thinking in visual patterns instead of spoken words. And slowly, painfully, she became fluent enough to have real conversations with Lily. Not perfect conversations, but real ones. They talked about everything, school drama and favorite books, and what it felt like to be deaf in a hearing world. Lily told her about the kids who stared, the teachers who talked too fast for her to lip read, the constant exhaustion of translating everything in her head. And Evelyn listened, really listened, without trying to fix or minimize or explain away. One Saturday in early December, they were making cookies when Lily asked a question Evelyn had been dreading. "Why did it take you so long?" Evelyn's hand stilled over the cookie dough. "What do you mean?" "To learn, to try." "Why didn't you do it when I was little?" Evelyn wanted to deflect, to make excuses, to soften the truth, but Lily deserved honesty. "Because I was scared," she signed slowly. "When you were born and I found out you were deaf, I felt like I'd failed, like there was something wrong with me, with my genetics, with the choices I'd made. And instead of dealing with that, I buried myself in work. I convinced myself that if I could just build something successful, make enough money, give you every advantage, that would be enough. But it wasn't. No, it wasn't, because what you needed wasn't money or resources. You needed a mom who could talk to you, and I was too proud and too scared to admit that I'd been doing everything wrong." Lily's expression was unreadable. "Do you still think I'm broken?" "No, I think I was broken. I think I was so focused on what I thought you should be that I couldn't see who you actually are." Evelyn paused, searching for the right words. "You're not broken, Lily. You're perfect exactly as you are. I'm the one who needed fixing." "Are you fixed now?" "I'm working on it." Lily nodded slowly, then went back to rolling out cookie dough. They worked in silence for a while. The only sound, the scrape of the rolling pin and the clink of cookie cutters. Then Lily signed, "Mom, I forgive you." Evelyn's vision blurred. "You don't have to." "I know, but I want to." Lily looked up, her eyes serious and wise beyond her years. "Because you're trying, and trying is enough." Evelyn pulled her daughter into a flowery hug, and they stood there in the kitchen, holding each other while cookies burned in the oven and smoke filled the air. It wasn't perfect. It was messy and chaotic and a little bit of a disaster. But it was real. And real was so much better than perfect. Christmas came, and for the first time in years, Evelyn took the entire week off. She and Lily decorated the house together, went ice skating at the outdoor rink downtown, baked more cookies that actually turned out edible this time. On Christmas morning, they opened presents in their pajamas, and Lily gave Evelyn a handmade card that said, "Best Mom," in careful ASL fingerspelling. Evelyn gave Lily a journal with pages designed for drawing and writing, along with a set of gel pens in every color. "For your stories," she signed. Lily's face lit up. "Really? Really? I want to read everything you write." They spent the afternoon at Ethan and Noah's house, which had become a tradition over the past few months. The four of them made a massive dinner together, burning the rolls and overcooking the turkey, but having so much fun that nobody cared. After dinner, they played board games that required extensive signing and trash talk, and Evelyn discovered she was terrible at Pictionary but decent at charades. At one point, Noah and Lily were teamed up against Ethan and Evelyn, and the kids were winning by a landslide. Lily was acting out something with exaggerated movements, and Noah was guessing with increasing excitement. "That's not fair," Evelyn signed to Ethan. "They're too good at this." "We're getting destroyed," he signed back, grinning. "Should we let them win?" "I think they're winning on their own merit." Evelyn watched Lily, saw how animated she was, how comfortable, how completely herself. And she thought about that night at the gala, when Lily had been sitting alone while the world buzzed around her. That little girl was gone. In her place was someone confident, someone connected, someone loved. Later, after Noah and Lily had crashed on the couch watching a movie with subtitles, Evelyn and Ethan cleaned up the kitchen. "Thank you," Evelyn signed, handing him a dish to dry. "For what?" For everything, for pushing me, for being honest, for not letting me give up. You did the hard part. I just pointed you in the right direction. You did more than that." She paused. "You gave me a second chance with my daughter. I don't know how to repay that." "You don't have to repay it. Just keep showing up. Keep being present. That's all any of us can do." They finished cleaning in comfortable silence, and Evelyn found herself thinking about how much had changed in just a few months. She wasn't a different person. She was still driven, still ambitious, still prone to working too hard and overthinking everything. But she'd learned how to balance, how to prioritize, how to let the less important things go so she could hold on to what mattered. On New Year's Eve, Evelyn and Lily stayed home. They made hot chocolate, watched the countdown on TV with captions, and at midnight they went outside to watch the neighbors' fireworks. Lily couldn't hear the explosions, but she could see the colors blooming across the sky, and her face was radiant with wonder. "Make a wish," Evelyn signed. "What should I wish for?" "Whatever you want." Lily thought about it, her face scrunched in concentration. Then she signed, "I wish for more days like this. Just you and me." "Me too." They stood there under the fireworks, hand in hand, and Evelyn felt something settle in her chest. Not contentment exactly, more like peace, the kind that comes from knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be. January brought rain and the kind of cold that seeped into your bones no matter how many layers you wore. Evelyn stood at her office window on the third Monday of the month, watching water stream down the glass, and thought about the board meeting she'd just left. They'd offered her a promotion. Chief Innovation Officer, a newly created position that would put her at the very top of the company's leadership structure. More money, more influence, more everything. She told them she needed time to think about it. Her phone buzzed. A text from Lily's school. Parent conference requested, "Can you meet Thursday at 3 p.m.? Evelyn's stomach tightened. She typed back, "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine. Ms. Martinez just wants to discuss Lily's progress." "Progress? That was good, right?" Evelyn confirmed the meeting and tried to focus on the contract review in front of her, but her mind kept drifting. 6 months ago, a call from the school would have sent her into a panic spiral. Now it just made her curious. And maybe a little bit proud that they knew to reach out to her directly instead of assuming she'd be too busy. Thursday arrived gray and drizzly. Evelyn left work at 2:30, which meant missing the tail end of a strategy session, but her team had learned to work around her schedule. Nobody questioned it anymore when she blocked off time for Lily. It had become normal. Ms. Martinez was waiting in her classroom, sitting at one of the tiny student desks with her hands folded. She smiled when Evelyn walked in. "Thank you for coming." "Of course. What's going on with Lily?" "Nothing bad, I promise. Actually, I wanted to share something with you." She pulled out a folder and opened it. Inside were drawings, essays, math worksheets. All of Lily's work from the past few months. "Look at these." Evelyn leafed through the pages. The drawings were more detailed than they used to be, full of color and life. The essays were longer, more confident. One was about visiting the aquarium with her mom. Another was about learning that mistakes were proof you were trying. "She's thriving," Ms. Martinez said. "Her grades have always been good, but her engagement has completely changed. She raises her hand in class now. She volunteers to help other students. She talks about her family with pride instead of sadness." Evelyn felt her throat tighten. "That's good." "It's more than good. It's remarkable." Miss Martinez leaned forward. "I don't know what changed at home, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Because Lily is becoming the child I always knew she could be. I'm just showing up. That's everything." When Evelyn picked Lily up that afternoon, her daughter was arguing with Emma near the cubbies. Not fighting exactly, but having an intense debate that involved a lot of hand-waving and exaggerated facial expressions. Emma was trying to sign something back, getting it mostly wrong but trying hard. Lily saw Evelyn and signed a quick goodbye to Emma, then bounded over. "Mom, can Emma come over this weekend? We want to work on a project together." Evelyn blinked. Lily had never asked to have a friend over before. "What kind of project?" "We're making a video about what it's like to be deaf for the school's diversity week. Emma's going to film and I'm going to explain stuff." "That sounds great. Of course she can come over." Lily's face lit up. She turned back to Emma and signed something that made the other girl jump up and down with excitement. On the drive home, Lily chattered about the project. Her hands moving so fast, Evelyn had to ask her to slow down twice. And we're going to show what it's like when people talk too fast, and when they turn their backs so I can't see their lips, and when they get annoyed that they have to repeat themselves. That sounds like important stuff to share. Miss Martinez said it'll help the other kids understand better, and maybe they'll learn some signs too. I think that's wonderful. Do you think you could help us? Like, be in the video? Evelyn glanced at her. Me? Yeah. We want to show what good communication looks like and what bad communication looks like. And you're good at it now. The compliment hit Evelyn square in the chest. I'm not that good. You're good enough. And you're my mom. That's what matters. So that Saturday, Emma came over with her mom's old video camera, and the three of them spent the afternoon making a 10-minute documentary about deaf awareness. They filmed examples of Evelyn signing clearly versus speaking without facing Lily. They showed how to get Lily's attention without startling her. They demonstrated basic signs that anyone could learn. Emma narrated in a serious voice that made her sound much older than 8, while Lily demonstrated and Evelyn tried not to look awkward on camera. At one point, they had to redo a scene 5 times because Evelyn kept accidentally signing elephant instead of important, which sent both girls into fits of giggles. When Emma's mom came to pick her up, she pulled Evelyn aside. Thank you for doing this. Emma's been talking about Lily nonstop since they became friends. She's learning so much. Lily's the one teaching her. I'm just the assistant. Still, it's nice to see them together. Emma's never had a friend quite like Lily before. After they left, Evelyn found Lily in her room, editing the video on her tablet. She sat down on the bed and watched over her daughter's shoulder. You did really good today, Evelyn signed. You did good too, even though you kept messing up. I can't help it. Elephants and important things look very similar. Lily grinned. No, they don't? To me, they do. They sat in comfortable silence while Lily added captions to the video. Then, without looking up, Lily signed, Mom, can I ask you something? Always. Do you ever wish I was different, like not deaf? The question punched the air from Evelyn's lungs. She thought about lying, about saying all the right things, but Lily deserved the truth. I used to, she signed slowly. When you were little, I wished I could fix it. Make you hearing, make everything easier. She paused. But I don't wish that anymore. Why not? Because if you were different, you wouldn't be you. And I love you exactly as you are. Lily's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really, you're smart and brave and creative and kind. You see the world in ways I never could. You taught me a whole new language just by being yourself. Evelyn reached over and tucked a strand of hair behind Lily's ear. I'm sorry I didn't see that sooner, but I see it now. Lily set down the tablet and hugged her, and Evelyn held on tight, thinking about all the conversations they'd missed, all the years they'd spent on opposite sides of that black line. But they were here now, together. And that was what mattered. The following week, Crosstech held its annual company gala. Evelyn had been dreading it, remembering the last one where everything had started. But this year was different. This year, she wasn't going alone. Are you sure about this? Lily signed in the car on the way there. She was wearing the same blue dress, now slightly too short, but still her favorite. Positive, I want you there. What if I get bored? Then we'll leave early. Really? Really? You're not an accessory I'm bringing to look good. You're my daughter. And if you're not having fun, we're not staying. Lily nodded, looking less anxious. The Cascade Hotel looked exactly the same. Same chandeliers, same marble floors, same waiters with the same expensive hors d'oeuvres. But Evelyn felt completely different. Instead of armor, she wore a simple black dress and comfortable heels. Instead of scanning the room for important people to impress, she found a quiet table near the windows and sat down with Lily. Want to get some food? Evelyn signed. They hit the buffet together, Lily piling her plate with things that were definitely not dinner food, and Evelyn didn't say a word about it. When they got back to the table, Ethan and Noah were there, both in suits that looked slightly uncomfortable. You made it, Evelyn signed. Wouldn't miss it, Ethan signed back. Besides, Noah wanted to see if the desserts were as good as you said. Noah was already eyeing the chocolate fountain with intense focus. The 4 of them sat together, signing and laughing and completely ignoring the networking happening around them. At one point, Marcus Webb approached their table, clearly intending to talk business, but Evelyn cut him off. Marcus, this is my daughter Lily, and our friends Ethan and Noah. We're having a private dinner. Can we catch up on Monday? He looked taken aback, but recovered quickly. Of course. Enjoy your evening. After he left, Ethan raised his eyebrows. Did you just blow off Marcus Webb? I did. Who are you, and what did you do with Evelyn Cross? She laughed. I'm still me, just a better version. Later in the evening, the MC announced that Crosstech would be making a major donation to a local school for the deaf. Evelyn had insisted on it after learning that their funding had been cut. The crowd applauded politely, but Evelyn wasn't watching them. She was watching Lily's face, seeing the pride there, and that was worth more than any investor's approval. As people started moving to the outdoor terrace, Lily tugged on Evelyn's sleeve. Can we go outside? I want to see the lights. They walked out together, and Lily pressed her face against the railing, looking down at the city spread out below them. Evelyn stood beside her, not signing anything, just being present. After a moment, Lily turned to her. Mom, I'm glad we came. Me too. But can we leave soon? I'm kind of tired. Evelyn checked her watch. 9:30. A year ago, she would have stayed until midnight, working every conversation, maximizing every opportunity. Now she just smiled and signed, Let's go home. They said goodbye to Ethan and Noah, collected their coats, and left the gala without a second thought. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat, her head resting against the window. Evelyn glanced at her in the rear-view mirror and felt that now familiar warmth in her chest. This was success. Not the company, not the accolades, not the money. March brought Lily's 8th birthday. They celebrated with a small party in the backyard, just a few kids from school and Noah. Evelyn had learned enough signs to follow most of the conversation, though she still got lost when the kids started talking too fast or using slang she hadn't learned yet. Emma taught everyone a game that involved signing animals and acting them out, and even the kids who didn't know much ASL managed to participate. Evelyn watched from the porch, signing with Ethan while Noah and Lily attempted to act out a particularly difficult animal. She's happy, Ethan signed. She is. So are you. Evelyn considered that. Yeah, I am. How's the promotion decision going? Evelyn had told him about the Chief Innovation Officer position a few weeks ago. I turned it down. Really? The hours would have been insane. More travel, more responsibility, more time away from Lily. I didn't want that. Any regrets? None. Well, maybe some. She smiled slightly. But the regret of missing more of Lily's life would have been worse. What did the board say? They were surprised but understanding. They offered me a different role instead. Head of Strategic Partnerships. Same level, less travel, better hours. I start next month. That sounds perfect. It feels right. The party wound down as the sun started setting. Parents came to collect their kids, all of them commenting on how much fun their children had, how they'd learned new signs, how they wanted to do this again. After the last guest left, Evelyn and Lily cleaned up together, throwing away paper plates and deflating balloons. Best birthday ever, Lily signed, collapsing on the couch with a satisfied sigh. Better than last year? Lily made a face. Last year you were on a business call during my cake. Evelyn winced. I was, wasn't I? Yeah. Mrs. Chen had to sing happy birthday by herself. I'm sorry. It's okay. This year was better. Lily paused. Actually, everything is better now. Yeah? Yeah, it feels like we're actually a family. Evelyn sat down next to her, pulling her close. We've always been a family. I know, but now it feels real. Like you actually want to be my mom. The words cracked something open in Evelyn's chest. I've always wanted to be your mom. I just didn't know how. But you know now. I'm learning. That's good enough. They sat there as the light faded outside, neither of them moving, just being together in the quiet. And for the first time in years, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt full. In April, Lily's video project won first place in the school's diversity competition. She and Emma were invited to present it to the entire school at an assembly. Evelyn took the afternoon off to attend, sitting in the auditorium with the other parents while her daughter stood on stage and explained why deaf awareness mattered. Lily was nervous at first, her signs smaller and more hesitant than usual. But Emma stood beside her, narrating with confidence, and gradually Lily relaxed. By the end, she was signing with the same grace and power she'd shown at the winter showcase. The principal announced that they'd be making the video available to all students and requiring teachers to watch it as part of their professional development. Lily's face went bright red with pride and embarrassment. After the assembly, Ms. Martinez found Evelyn in the hallway. "Your daughter is remarkable." "She is. And so are you. The change in Lily this year has been extraordinary, and I know that's because of the work you've put in at home. I'm just doing what I should have done from the start." "Maybe, but you're doing it now. That takes courage." That night, Evelyn hung a copy of Lily's award certificate on the refrigerator, right next to the drawing with the bridge. Lily saw it and smiled. "You kept that," she signed, pointing to the drawing. "Of course, it reminds me how far we've come." Lily studied it for a moment. "Can I draw a new one?" "Sure. What are you thinking?" "You'll see." She disappeared into her room and came back 20 minutes later with a new piece of paper. This one showed two stick figures standing close together on the same side of the page. No black line separating them, just a small bridge between them, and above it, a sun. "Better?" Lily signed. Evelyn's vision blurred. "Perfect." Lily hung the new drawing next to the old one. "So we can remember both, where we were and where we are now." May brought the end of the school year and a flurry of activities: field trips, final projects, year-end performances. Evelyn attended all of it, even when it meant rescheduling meetings or delegating tasks she would have insisted on handling herself a year ago. Her team had learned to function without her constant oversight, and Crosstech hadn't collapsed. In fact, the company was doing better than ever. On the last day of school, Evelyn picked Lily up and they drove to the park, where they'd first practiced signing with Ethan and Noah. It had become their spot, a place they came to when they needed to talk about important things or just wanted to be together. They sat on their usual bench, watching kids play on the swings. Lily kicked her feet, not quite reaching the ground. "Second grade is over," Evelyn signed. "Yep, third grade next year." "How do you feel about that?" "Good." "Nervous." "Excited." Lily paused. "Miss Martinez isn't going to be my teacher anymore." "I know, but you'll get a new teacher who's just as good." "What if they don't understand about being deaf?" "Then we'll help them understand. Together." Lily nodded, looking reassured. They sat in silence for a while, watching the other kids. Then Lily signed, "Mom, do you remember when you asked me if what you were doing was enough?" "I remember. I said you were doing good, not perfect, but good." "Right. I want to change my answer." Evelyn's heart skipped. "Okay. You're not doing good. You're doing great. You're the best mom I could have." Lily's hands moved with certainty, no hesitation. "And I love you." Evelyn couldn't sign back because her hands were shaking too hard, so she just pulled Lily into her arms and held her, feeling the weight of those words settle into her bones. Her daughter loved her. Not despite her mistakes, not because she was perfect, but because she'd shown up, because she'd tried, because she'd finally learned to meet Lily where she was instead of expecting Lily to meet her. "I love you too," Evelyn signed when she could finally move her hands again. "So much." They stayed at the park until the sun started setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that needed no sound to be beautiful. On the drive home, Lily asked if they could stop for ice cream, and Evelyn said yes, even though it was almost dinner time, because some moments were worth breaking the rules for. At the ice cream shop, they ran into Ethan and Noah. Completely by accident, or maybe not, because there were only so many ice cream places in their neighborhood. The four of them sat at an outdoor table, signing and laughing and making plans for summer. "Beach trip?" Ethan suggested. "Yes," Noah signed emphatically. Lily looked at Evelyn with hopeful eyes. "Absolutely," Evelyn signed. "When should we go?" They spent the next 20 minutes planning, debating hotels versus camping, whether to go for a weekend or a whole week, what activities they wanted to do. It felt natural, easy, like they'd been doing this forever instead of just a few months. When they finally said goodbye, Noah and Lily exchanged an elaborate handshake they'd invented, all intricate movements and perfectly timed gestures. Ethan watched them with a soft smile. Sarah would have loved this, he signed to Evelyn. Loved what? Seeing Noah this happy. Seeing him with a friend who really gets him. He paused. And seeing you figure this out. She always said the hardest part of being deaf wasn't the silence. It was the loneliness. The feeling that nobody was willing to learn your language. Lily's not lonely anymore. Neither is Noah, or you for that matter. Evelyn thought about that. A year ago, she'd been drowning in work and isolation, surrounded by people but completely alone. Now she had Lily, really had her, and she had Ethan and Noah, this unexpected family that had formed in the gaps of her old life. Thank you, she signed, for everything. Stop thanking me. You did the work. But you showed me it was possible. That's what friends do. Friends. The word felt right. Warm, real. Summer arrived with bright sunshine and endless possibilities. Evelyn took 2 weeks off, the longest vacation she'd had since founding CrossTech. She and Lily spent their days at the pool, at museums, at the library. They took that beach trip with Ethan and Noah, renting a house right on the sand and spending a week building sandcastles and collecting shells and watching the sunset over the water. One evening, while the kids were down by the shore looking for crabs, Ethan and Evelyn sat on the porch with glasses of wine. Can I tell you something? Evelyn signed. Always. A year ago, if someone had told me my life would look like this, I wouldn't have believed them. Because it's better or worse. Better. So much better. She watched Lily splash in the shallow water, her laughter silent but her joy unmistakable. I thought success meant building an empire, making money, being respected in my industry. And those things are nice, but they're not what matters. What matters? This, her, being the person my daughter needs me to be. That's the hardest job in the world. And the most important. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun paint the ocean gold. After a while, Ethan signed, You know what Sarah used to say about parenting? What? She said it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up every day and trying again, even when you fail, especially when you fail. I failed a lot. We all have, but you're still here, still trying. That's what counts. When they returned home from the beach, Evelyn found a letter waiting from CrossTech's board. They wanted her to speak at the annual shareholder meeting about work-life balance and the importance of family. Apparently, her new approach had inspired several other executives to set better boundaries, and productivity had actually increased across the company. She said yes, but only if she could bring Lily. The shareholder meeting was in August, held in a conference center downtown. Evelyn stood at the podium in her best suit, looking out at hundreds of faces, and felt Lily's hand in hers. Her daughter stood beside her, wearing a dress she'd picked out herself, looking both nervous and proud. A year ago, Evelyn began, and the interpreter signed along. I was working 80-hour weeks. I told myself I was doing it for my daughter, to give her a better life. But I was lying. I was doing it because I was scared of being a bad mother, scared of admitting I'd made mistakes, scared of being vulnerable. The room was silent except for the rustle of papers and the interpreter's hands moving through the air. My daughter is deaf. For 7 years, I didn't learn sign language. I told myself I was too busy, that I'd do it later, that there were more important things to handle first. And my daughter spent 7 years feeling invisible in her own home. Lily squeezed her hand. Then I met someone who forced me to look at what I was doing, who told me that nothing was more important than showing up for the people we love. And I realized he was right. So I started showing up. I learned sign language. I set boundaries at work. I said no to opportunities that would have taken me away from my daughter. And you know what happened? She paused, looking down at Lily, who was watching her with shining eyes. I became successful, real success. Not the kind measured in dollars or deals, but the kind measured in connection, in love, in being present. She turned back to the audience. CrossTech is thriving because I stopped working 80-hour weeks and started trusting my team. My daughter is thriving because I finally learned to communicate with her. I'm thriving because I learned that being vulnerable isn't weakness, it's strength. The applause started slowly, then built until the whole room was standing. But Evelyn only cared about one person's reaction. She looked down at Lily and signed, Did I do okay? Lily signed back, You did perfect. After the speech, dozens of people approached her with questions. with gratitude, with their own stories of struggle and success. But Evelyn kept the conversations brief. She had somewhere more important to be. She and Lily drove to the library, where they'd agreed to meet Ethan and Noah. The four of them had started a tradition of Saturday afternoon book clubs, where they'd each pick something to read and discuss it in sign language. It was chaotic and silly, and exactly the kind of thing Evelyn never would have made time for a year ago. Today's selection was Lily's choice, a graphic novel about a girl who discovered she had superpowers. They sat in their usual corner, signing back and forth about favorite characters and plot twists, and whether the ending was satisfying. At one point, Noah signed something too fast for Evelyn to catch, and Lily had to interpret. Then they all laughed at a joke Ethan made about the villain's motivation, and Evelyn realized she'd understood every word. Not because she was fluent, not because she was perfect, but because she'd learned to communicate in the language her daughter spoke. On the drive home, Lily was quiet, looking out the window at the passing scenery. Then she turned to Evelyn at a stoplight and signed, "Mom, remember that drawing I made, the one with the black line?" "I remember. I've been thinking about it, about what it meant." "What do you think it meant?" "I think it meant I was sad, but not just because you didn't sign, because I thought you didn't want to know me, the real me." Lily's hands moved carefully, thoughtfully. "But you do know me now, and I know you, and that makes everything different." Evelyn's throat tightened. "Everything is different because of you, because of both of us." That night, after Lily had gone to bed, Evelyn sat in her office and looked at the two drawings hanging side by side on the wall. The old one with the black line, the division between mother and daughter, and the new one with the bridge, the connection they'd built together. She thought about the past year, about everything that had changed, the ASL classes and the stumbling conversations, and the moments of frustration when she couldn't remember a sign or said the wrong thing. The pride on Lily's face when Evelyn showed up to her presentations, the comfortable silences that no longer felt empty, the laughter, the tears, the small daily moments that added up to something bigger than she could have imagined. She pulled out her phone and texted Ethan, "Thank you for not letting me give up." His response came quickly. "You never gave up. You just needed a push in the right direction." "Still, thank you. Anytime." That's what family does. Family. They'd become a family, this patchwork group of people brought together by loss and loneliness and the determination to do better. Ethan and Noah, who understood what it meant to communicate across differences. Lily, who'd waited patiently for her mother to finally see her. And Evelyn, who'd learned that being vulnerable wasn't failure. It was the beginning of everything real. She turned off her laptop without checking her email and went upstairs. Lily's door was cracked open, light spilling into the hallway. Evelyn peeked in and found her daughter sitting up in bed, writing in the journal Evelyn had given her for Christmas. Lily looked up and smiled. "Can't sleep," she signed. "Writing a story." "Sort of. It's about a girl and her mom." "Can I read it when you're done?" "You can read it now if you want." Evelyn sat on the edge of the bed while Lily handed over the journal. The story was simple, written in Lily's careful handwriting with illustrations in the margins. It was about a girl who lived in a quiet world and a mother who lived in a loud one, and how they learned to meet in the middle. The ending showed them dancing together in a space that was neither quiet nor loud, just perfectly balanced. "This is beautiful," Evelyn signed, handing back the journal. "Do you think it's true that we found the middle?" "I think we're still finding it, every day." "That's okay, as long as we keep looking together. Always together." Lily set the journal aside and held out her arms. Evelyn pulled her into a hug, holding her daughter close and feeling the steady rhythm of her heartbeat. This was success. Not the speeches or the awards or the shareholder approval. This quiet moment, this connection, this love. "Good night," Evelyn signed when she finally pulled back. "Good night, Mom. I love you." "I love you too. More than anything." She turned off the light and stood in the doorway for a moment, watching her daughter settle into sleep. Then she went to her own room, feeling lighter than she had in years. The next morning was Sunday, which meant sleeping in and making pancakes and not checking work email even once. Evelyn and Lily worked together in the kitchen, Lily measuring ingredients while Evelyn mixed them. They didn't talk much, just moved around each other with the comfortable familiarity of people who'd learned to share space. When the pancakes were ready, they ate on the back porch, watching birds flit between the trees. Lily pointed out different species, signing their names, and Evelyn tried to remember them all, even though she knew she'd forget half by tomorrow. "What do you want to do today?" Evelyn signed. "I don't know, just hang out?" "Sounds perfect." They spent the day doing nothing important. They watched a movie with subtitles. They went for a walk in the neighborhood. They organized Lily's bookshelf and found old toys she'd forgotten about. Small, ordinary things that would have seemed boring a year ago but now felt exactly right. In the evening, while they were making dinner, Lily's phone buzzed with a text from Emma. She read it and grinned. "Emma wants to know if I can sleep over next weekend," she signed. "What did you tell her?" "I said I'd ask you." "Of course you can go." Lily's grin widened. "Really? You're not worried about leaving me somewhere overnight?" "Should I be?" "No. Emma's mom knows how to get my attention if there's an emergency, and Emma learned enough signs that we can talk about most stuff." "Then have fun." Lily threw her arms around Evelyn's waist. "Thank you." "You don't have to thank me for letting you have friends." "I know, but I'm thanking you anyway." Later that week, Evelyn had lunch with Diane, her ASL instructor. They met at a cafe near the community center, and Diane brought along Marcus, the interpreter who'd voiced for her during classes. "I heard you've completed the advanced level," Diane signed. Marcus translated aloud for the benefit of the server taking their order. "Just finished last month," Evelyn signed back, "though I still have a lot to learn." "We all do. That's the beauty of language. It keeps evolving." Diane paused. "I also heard you gave a speech at your company about work-life balance." "I did. It felt important to share." "Can I tell you something?" Diane's expression turned serious. "When you first came to my class, I wasn't sure you'd stick with it. You looked like someone who was there out of obligation, not desire." "I probably was." "But you stayed. You practiced. You showed up week after week, even when it was hard. And now look at you, fluent enough to have this conversation without hesitation." Evelyn glanced down at her hands, remembering how clumsy they'd felt in those early classes, how frustrating it had been to express simple thoughts, how many times she'd wanted to quit. "I stayed because my daughter needed me too," she signed. "But somewhere along the way, it became about more than that. It became about understanding her world, about meeting her where she was instead of expecting her to meet me. That's what good parents do." "I wasn't a good parent for a long time." "But you are now. That's what matters." They talked for another hour about language and family and the ways we connect across differences. When Evelyn finally left, she felt full in a way that had nothing to do with the meal. Autumn came again, bringing cooler weather and the start of third grade. Lily was nervous the first day, worried about her new teacher, but by the end of the week she was coming home with stories about class projects and playground games, and the boy who sat next to her who was learning to fingerspell. Evelyn attended the back-to-school night and met Mrs. Patterson, Lily's new teacher. She was older than Ms. Martinez, with gray hair and laugh lines around her eyes. "I've heard wonderful things about Lily," Mrs. Patterson said through the interpreter the school had provided. "And about you. Miss Martinez told me how much progress you've made with sign language. I'm still learning. We all are. But the important thing is that Lily knows you're trying. That makes all the difference." On Halloween, Lily dressed as an astronaut and went trick-or-treating with Emma and Noah. Evelyn and Ethan followed behind, signing to each other while the kids ran ahead. "She's growing up fast," Ethan signed. "Too fast." "That's parenthood. You blink and suddenly they're not babies anymore." Evelyn watched Lily laugh at something Noah signed, her face bright with joy. "I'm glad I'm not missing it anymore." "Me too." November brought Thanksgiving, which they spent at Evelyn's house. She invited Ethan and Noah, plus Mrs. Chen, who'd become more friend than nanny over the past year. The five of them crowded around the dining room table, sharing a meal that Evelyn had mostly managed not to burn. Before they ate, Lily asked if they could go around the table and share what they were thankful for. Mrs. Chen went first, signing with the fluency she'd been developing since Evelyn started her classes. "I'm thankful for this family and for being part of it." Noah signed next. "I'm thankful for Lily teaching me that being different is cool." Ethan smiled. I'm thankful for second chances, and the people who push us to take them. Then it was Evelyn's turn. She looked around the table at these people who'd become her family and felt emotion well up in her chest. I'm thankful for my daughter, she signed, her hands steady and sure. For her patience while I learned to be the mother she deserved. For her forgiveness. For her love. And for teaching me that showing up is the bravest thing we can do. Lily wiped her eyes and signed. I'm thankful for my mom, for learning my language, for being here, for loving me enough to change. They ate dinner in a mix of sign and speech and laughter, and Evelyn thought about how different this was from last Thanksgiving, when she'd worked through the holiday and barely spoken to Lily at all. How far they'd come. How much had changed. December arrived with the first snow. Evelyn and Lily built a snowman in the backyard, giving him a carrot nose and stick arms and a scarf that Lily had outgrown. They took pictures and had a snowball fight and went inside only when their fingers were too numb to sign. That night, while they were drinking hot chocolate by the fireplace, Lily pulled out her journal. I wrote something I want to show you, she signed. Okay. She opened to a page near the back and handed it over. It was a letter addressed to Evelyn. Dear Mom, a year ago I didn't think you'd ever really see me. I thought you were too busy with work, too focused on other things. I thought maybe you wished I was different, not deaf, not complicated, just easier. But then you started learning. At first I didn't believe it would last. I thought you'd give up like you always did. But you didn't. You kept going. You made mistakes, and you looked silly sometimes, and you got frustrated, but you didn't quit. And slowly, I started to understand that you weren't learning sign language because you had to. You were learning it because you wanted to know me, really know me. Not the version of me you wished existed, but the actual me. Now, when I come home, you ask about my day and actually understand my answer. You go to my school things even when you have meetings. You laugh at my jokes even when they're not funny. You're not perfect, but you're trying. And that's all I ever wanted. Thank you for seeing me, Mom. Thank you for learning my language. Thank you for showing up. I love you. Lily. Evelyn read it twice, tears streaming down her face. When she looked up, Lily was watching her with anxious eyes. Is it okay that I wrote that? She signed. Evelyn set the journal aside and pulled Lily into her arms. It's more than okay. It's perfect. You're perfect. They held each other while snow fell outside and the fire crackled in the hearth, and Evelyn felt a completeness she'd never experienced before. This was home. Not the house or the furniture or the expensive things she'd bought to fill the emptiness. This feeling, this connection, this love. On Christmas morning, they opened presents slowly, savoring each one. Evelyn gave Lily a telescope for stargazing and a set of books about constellations. Lily gave Evelyn a framed photo of the two of them from the winter showcase, both of them signing, both of them smiling. I love it, Evelyn signed. Where should we hang it? My room, so I can see it every day. They hung it on the wall next to Lily's bed, right where she'd see it first thing every morning. And looking at it, Evelyn felt grateful for every stumble, every mistake, every moment of awkwardness that had led them here. That afternoon, they video called Ethan and Noah, who were spending Christmas with Ethan's sister. The four of them signed back and forth, showing off presents and making plans for New Year's. Same place as last year? Ethan signed. Your house, watching the fireworks? Sounds perfect, Evelyn signed back. And it was perfect. Not flawless, not without complications, but real and messy and full of love. The kind of perfect that came from showing up every day and trying again. When the call ended, Evelyn and Lily made dinner together, working side by side in comfortable silence. They ate in the living room, watching snow fall outside, and talked about the year that was ending and the one that was beginning. What do you want for next year? Evelyn signed. Lily thought about it. More days like this, just us, being together. That's what I want too. And maybe we could get a dog? Evelyn laughed. We'll talk about it. That means yes, right? It means maybe. I'll take maybe. As night fell and the house grew quiet, Evelyn found herself in Lily's room again, looking at the drawings on the wall. The old one with the black line and the new one with the bridge. She thought about adding a third one, showing how far they'd come. But maybe these two were enough. A reminder of where they'd been and what they'd built together. She turned to leave and found Lily standing in the doorway, watching her. Can't sleep? Evelyn signed. Not yet. I was thinking. About what? About how different everything is now. How much better. Me too. Lily walked over and stood beside her mother, both of them looking at the drawings. I'm glad you learned to talk to me, Mom. I'm glad I finally listened. They stood there in silence, and Evelyn realized the quiet no longer felt empty or isolating. It felt full of possibility, of connection, of all the conversations they'd have and all the moments they'd share. Because silence wasn't the absence of communication. It was just a different kind of language. And Evelyn had finally learned to speak it. I love you, she signed. I love you too, Lily signed back. And in that moment, standing in her daughter's room with their hands moving through the space between them, Evelyn understood what success really meant. Not building an empire or impressing investors or climbing to the top of her industry. Success was this: being present, being seen, being loved. It was choosing connection over perfection. It was showing up every single day and trying again. It was learning that the bravest thing you could do was admit you'd been wrong and work to make it right. And it was knowing that love wasn't something you spoke. It was something you signed, one gesture at a time, building bridges across the silences until there was no distance left between you. Just two people, mother and daughter, finally speaking the same language.